welcome to another up close video. So today's one is looking at Stamp Club number 8 from Tonic, and I think this is called a Whaley Great Set, and you can probably tell why it has got the punny name, because it contains three gorgeous little whales, and they're in different kind of positions to each other. So these two kind of look like the larger and smaller version of each other, but they are actually slightly different, which is nice if you use them both on a card. It doesn't look like you've just got one shrunk down, which is lovely. And then you have this little fella who is pointing the opposite direction, so you can do some good cards with two of the whales coming in from each side of the card. These ones have got a nice curvature in their back, which really lends itself to going around in a circle. I'm not that great at interactive cards, but I reckon if you're good at doing penny sliders and like the cards that follow the little track, and maybe even doing it in this circular shape, you could have 2 or 3 whales going around the circle with the little penny slider kind of mechanism behind them as well. I think that would look really cool. So this is the stamp set and the die set. They're both A5 in size as usual, and they both fit into the Designer's Choice duck egg coloured Ringbinder die storage case, or the orange A5 die storage case as well. Or if you get the kits as well, you might have had a binder, and they will also fit in that binder as well. So if you only have a small collection of the odd Stamp Club or Designer's Choice or craft kits, they'll fit in the craft kit binders as well. I always forget to tell you all the proper details, because I feel like you just want to see the die sets really. But for those of you who've never heard of the Tonic Stamp Club, it's not a subscription based stamp club. You do actually have to buy it each month. There isn't any kind of subscription kind of service where it would roll over. It is just an initial like purchase each month. So obviously you can just buy whichever ones you want to, and you don't have to get all of them or any of them. But I'll leave the links below the video, and they are affiliate links, so if you do use any of my links, I'll get a small commission at no extra cost to you, and I really do appreciate you using my links as well. I usually say all that at the end of the video, but I thought I'd just mention it at the beginning of the video this time. For those of you who are unsure about the stamp clubs, I think I had a comment, I can't remember what video it was on, it could have been a Designer's Choice or something, and someone was unsure about how it works with like buying these ones, but they're literally just if you see it launch and you really like the stamp and die set, then you can just go and purchase it and it will ship out straight away. There's no like waiting for the first of the next month for it to ship. It just ships straight away, just as if you were ordering any die or stamp set. And the whole idea of the Stamp Club is that you have a gorgeous A5 stamp set to work with, but you're also getting the coordinating dies, and in some cases, because the stamp set is the same size as the dies and you don't necessarily need dies to like cut out the sentiments and things, you get extra dies within the die set, so not just ones that will cut the images out. For example, in this month's one we have this gorgeous circular extra die as well, and I will show you all of this in more detail and show you exactly which dies will cut out what shapes from the stamp set as well. You have got a die for almost every like picture image, minus like the little birds flying in the sky and the little shoal of fish. I'm pretty sure everything else has a die for it, even like the tiny little sand dollar and the little shells and anemones and things. I think everything else has a die. The only other one that's like a little bit it doesn't really coordinate is you have this wiggly edge die, which does match the wiggly edged stamp. However, I don't know if you can tell, see the way I've put it back on my stamp sheet, it's a very nice bendy die, so you can actually mould it into whatever kind of wiggle you want to stamp. So therefore, if you've done that, it might not match the die that they've given you, but a straight edge is pretty simple to follow with your scissors if you do want to like make a wiggly kind of line and then cut along it as well. So it's kind of giving you extra options and things, and this line die can be really useful for creating movement in a background, or for just creating like a cool stripy plaid kind of background as well. So I'll get started looking at the stamp set for you. So as you could tell by the name of it, a Whaley Great Set, it is very punny kind of themed with some gorgeous whales, and you have the 3 different whales. I think they're really nicely designed whales because they're not too realistic, but they're not too cartoony. They're kind of like that perfect balance in the middle, which is really nice. Sorry that my stamps are a little dirty, but you will see the whales properly stamped out and coloured in on my samples that I'll show you later as well. So as well as getting the 3 main whales, I'll run you through the sentiments because there's some really funny punny ones in there. So you've got get whale soon, you've got sometimes life is overwhelming. So for where I've used that one on a card, I've put like 3 whales on it, so there's like overwhelming, there's too many whales. Then you've got have a whaley great day, everything will be alright, I will love you forever, I think you're swale, whale hello there, and then don't worry as well. So you've got a nice little selection of punny whale stamps in there as well. Which is really nice actually. But if you don't want to use the whales and you want to go with like the little squid that's in here, there's a starfish, there's a little seahorse, a little tiny fish as well. You can just obviously bring in any other sentiments from previous stamp clubs or any of your sentiment dies and stuff that you have as well, and just create a gorgeous like underwater kind of scene without using the whales too. So it's a nice versatile kind of set. So I'll show you first the 3 stamps that don't have coordinating dies. So you've got this little cluster of birds and then this little cluster of birds. So you can just add these into the sky. I kind of forgot they were on there. I didn't actually use them on my cards. And then this one is one of my favourites, that little shoal of fish. And it's a lovely solid stamp, so you can do kind of like an ink blended sort of a background and then just stamp these in a solid like deep blue so it looks like they're further away, and you know, you can really build up kind of perspective using these little fishes. Then we've got a lovely variety of kind of like corally stuff and underwater seaweed and little plants and things that would be under the water as well. So this is the only solid one. So this is a great one if you want to do like solid stamping with different colours. I was actually using powdered peach and carrot stick to create a kind of corally sort of a look with that little stamp. Then you've got this sort of one, which again looks like coral. Sorry, it's not back on the sheet properly, but it looks like coral. It's kind of in 2 sections, but the die actually cuts it all out as a whole. You've got a tiny little fish up here, which I didn't actually use. You've got the seahorse, which you can tell that I've used because it's wonky. You've got this cool little thing, which is like some underwater creature. Kind of reminds me of something out of Finding Nemo. And then the next one is a little shell. And then you've got this gorgeous seaweed one, which is really lovely. I really like the flowing motion of this one. And if you love your colouring, you've got like places where this kind of twists and turns, so you could really practice deepening shadows behind those kind of areas and stuff with that one. You've got this kind of anemone sort of a thing. You've got a little squid there. This also kind of like anemone kind of thing as well. Some more kind of really flowy sort of underground or underwater little planty thing. I'm not really sure what all of them are called. Then you've got a little tiny sand dollar, tiny little shell, another kind of corally piece, another kind of sort of corally piece, or could be seaweed. It could be like bladderwrack seaweed or something. You've got a tiny little ship, which you could I've tried to use it in a couple of different ways to show you how to use it, but the little ship, it could be on the horizon line, but then you can see below the water and you can see the whales under there, or you can also like put it in the distance, like so it kind of looks like a ship that's sunk, and then it's sort of like a shipwreck under the sea. I think that's a cool way of using it as well. Then we've got the tiny little starfish, and then the final piece of seaweed as well. I really like this one too. This one's really lovely to colour in because you've got just enough room to get that little shadow of a darker colour on all of the leaves on that as well. So that is all of the stamps. And then let me show you which ones have the coordinating dies to go with them as well. So we've got that one which will coordinate with that stamped line if you get it in the exact position of the die. Then we have got the 3 dies that go with the whales. So we've got this little fella, and then this one, and this one. And the great thing about having the coordinating dies, I don't really need to tell you the advantages because you get the coordinating dies with the stamp set, but for me, it gives that really professional edge, which I really love, and I never sort of realised how beautiful that looks when you die cut a stamped image, but also it gives you the opportunities to create different kinds of cards. For example, you can have a whale shaped aperture on the outside of your card and then stamp the whale on the inside of the card, or you can have a whale shaped aperture and make the actual whale shape into a shaker and maybe put more clear kind of confetti in there, or if you've got the glass micro beads, especially the clear kind of ones in different sizes, you can have like water sort of looking effect of it shaking. You can also do other things with the designs, like even turning them into stickers that you could then give to like your grandchild or your godchild or something, and they could create their own scene. So you could colour everything yourself or get them to colour it, then put double-sided adhesive sheet on the back of the cardstock and then cut them all out with the dies, and then you've instantly got some stickers that they could create into a scene for cards or for you know, just for fun to make a picture. You could do a similar kind of thing and do a really thin magnetic sheet on the back. You might have to cut them separately. These dies definitely would cut through a magnetic sheet, but if you're going to stick them onto card, you might want to cut the images out and then cut the same shape from the magnetic sheet and then stick them together. But there's loads of different options for having the coordinating dies to go with something, and it just gives you that beautiful professional kind of a look. So the next one, we've got the tiny little die for the Seahorse. I'll try and zoom you in a little bit closer. Then we also have this little fish down here. Got this tiny little fish die. And all of these kind of ones, actually, these tiny little seahorse, the fish, the shell, the sand dollar and stuff, they could be elements within a shaker card as well, which would be marvellous. You've got this little anemone, he's got a die. This little tubey kind of creature or plant, that has a die as well. The tiny little shell has got one. All of the different seaweeds have got them as well. So this one cuts this entire piece out. You've got one for this crinkly one. And don't just think of these as just having to be seaweed, because this one I think would go really nice just with some flowers as well. Or you could even create some kind of floral looking card, but using seaweed, coral and little starfish as kind of like the flower elements in a card, and do something really cool that way as well. And then talking of the starfish, he's also got a little die. The squid has got a die. This wiggly bit of seaweed here has got one. This bit of coral has one. This bit of coral's got one. Even the solid stamp has one. They don't always give you the die to cut out a solid stamp, but you do actually get the one for that. This big cluster of coral down here has got one. This one is for the little ship. Even the tiny little ship has one. Then this little one is the sand dollar. Then you've also got the seashell and this sort of open anemone as well. So every single image, except for the two little like birds in the sky and the shoal of fish, has a die to cut it out, which I think is fantastic, especially for these tiny little ones. And I mean, if you think about it, if you stamp all of these images, obviously you'll be able to get them on an A5 sheet, but maybe even smaller than that, maybe a third of an A4 sheet, so you could get 3 lots. And then just placing, like colouring the whole sheet in, placing all the dies on, and just with one pass through your die cutting machine you can have them all cut out, which I think is fabulous. And because they're all fitting in an A5 space, even if you have one of the smaller machines like the Platinum 6 or the Gemini Junior, or you use your half size plates in your Tangerine, you can like cut them all out in one pass, which I think is fantastic. So it just makes it go so much quicker for your card making. And even if you don't think you're going to use everything on a card, and you know you're having fun colouring, you might as well colour it all in, die cut everything out, and then you know you can probably instantly make another 1 or 2 cards from the bits you've got left over as well, which is really lovely. And then you'll notice here there is one die left, which is this gorgeous circle die. It's a really decent size as well, actually. It is about 1 3/4 no, sorry, 2 3/4 inches in diameter, so quite a decent sized circle of fish, and they're very similar fish to the little stamp of shoal of fish as well. I think, yeah, some of them are the same size as the stamp, the tiny little ones in the middle, but these are just brilliant for shaker cards as well. Just cut a load of these out and have them as a shaker. I was poking all the bits out of one of my cards and I couldn't help but save them all, so I've got all of these little fish in here ready to do something with as well. And I think combining them with like glass micro beads or confetti or even glitter actually would work really nicely in a shaker card for any of these kind of projects, especially if you did or if you had, was it last month's one or the month before? Possibly both of them had rectangle dies in, and you could use like 2 of them together to create a frame. Then you could have a scene inside it, put some acetate across the front and do a whole shaker, like make the whole front of the card a big rectangular shaker with the little fish going around in there. And you could have some of the fish stamped in the background, so there's fish at the top. You can stick some of the little shaker fish in different places in the background, and then you can have all the rest of them shaking in the front. And even this whale, or even the squid, the seahorse, maybe the starfish and things, you could have them as little shaker elements as well. Or you can do that cool thing where you take, like, for example, this little whale, and then you run some invisible thread, like, top to bottom of the whale, and then you trap the 2 ends of the invisible thread onto the foam tape at the top and bottom of the shaker, similar to if you were going to do a spinner card, but you're trapping it inside the shaker, and then you put another layer of foam tape on top, and then, like, this little whale could shake backwards and forwards inside the shaker, but without him, like, falling to the bottom and ending up upside down. He would actually still stay in the position you wanted him to be in as well. So that would be a brilliant kind of shaker card as well. Also, while I've got all of these dies here, I recently got sent the, what's it called? Might as well tell you the proper name of it. It's called the CRaFTi's Magnetic Die Stand. It's this brilliant contraption that helps you keep track of all of your dies while you're working, and I think this is the perfect set to use something like this with. So if I move this out of the way, it also balances really nicely on the top of your tangerine, so if you don't have much workspace like me, well, I do have workspace, but it's covered in other stuff, you can actually like rest it on top of your tangerine. But it is an enormous piece of kit. Like, I think even if I zoomed it out, you might not even be able to see the whole thing. Let me try. I've got a lot of mess on my desk because I'm going to show you my samples, and I've got some of the products left out, but it is enormous. This massive die stand. It's got a lovely popper on it. It's got the beautiful enamel kind of badge on there, similar to the die storage folders, but it opens up like a book, and then this piece kind of flips out like an easel kind of thing, and then it actually rests on this piece that has got the Tonic Studios logo on there, and then this whole piece is magnetic, so you can actually just chuck your dies on it, and especially with these tiny little ones, you're not going to lose them because they're just going to stick on there really well. You just keep all of your dies on here while you're working, and this, I think it's bigger than A4, so you could actually get probably 3 complete A5 die sets on here. Like, so anything you're using while you're working, you could have the whole set out on here, or you could just have the dies that you're using. Or I think another great use for it would to be maybe to have all of your sentiments on here as well. Like, or maybe if you got a couple of them, you could have one just always set up with all of your sentiment dies in there, so you can just open it up and know exactly what you have to pick from for a sentiment. I think that would be quite cool as well. But you could store, oops, I just knocked an ink pad. You could actually store stuff in here. You could actually just then fold this closed. You know, if you're going to be working with stuff for multiple days, maybe you have a dog or a cat that likes to be nosy in all of your stuff and you don't want them to go off with a die and swallow it or something. You could then keep all of your dies in this and popper it up, or I'm thinking as well, if I wanted to like go and sit in the sun in the garden, or just, you know, by the patio doors at the dining table, you could take all of the dies that you want to be cutting that day and go and sit there with your die cutting machine, and you're not taking like multiple sort of you know, sleeves of things that could tip upside down, and you might lose bits and you don't know where on earth they've gone because you're not in your craft room, and you know. So I think this is a really cool kind of contraption, and I just thought I'd mention it in this video, as this die set's got so many small little dies on it. So I'll tell you the name of it again. It is the CRaFTi's magnetic die stand, so I'll make sure this is linked below as well, just in case you're interested, because I haven't done a full video on this. I probably won't do a full video on this, but I just thought I'd mention it in this video for anybody who is interested in it. So I'll be back in 1 second to show you the 5 samples that I've got as well. Okay, so I've got 5 different cards to show you, and in one of my sped up videos I do hold all of the pens up to the camera, and also in my photographic step by step I show you all the pens as well, the ones that I've used to colour the whales, just in case you're struggling for a colour scheme or you like the way that I've coloured them. I thought I would just show you all of the pen colours that I was using to colour them in. I'll just make sure I've got all of the right ones. No, it wasn't that one. This one. Okay, so I was using, I think these actually come in the same pack of 3. I'm still not sure if the website's got the packs of 3s on there or not. I haven't actually checked, but 425, 427, 428, I was using those 3 blues to create the blue of the whale, but then for his tummy I was using some greys. These are the cooler greys from the Tonic pens, the Nuvo pens. So this is 485, 487, 489, and I was using them to colour the tummy, but this blue, obviously it's a blue, not a grey blue, and a whale's more of a grey kind of blue colour. So if you then just take your lightest and maybe the second or the middle kind of colour of your greys, you can colour over the blue, and then you get this gorgeous kind of a look. It just gives more of a whale kind of a look, really. It just turns that brighter blue into more of a whale kind of a blue. So I thought I'd just show you the colours that I was using to colour my whales in case you're struggling for like a way of colouring them. But I think going with blues and greys, or even some like light purples and greys as well, I think would give a nice effect, or even going for some slightly darker tones of blues as well. You could use like the next 3 sort of blending colours of the blues. I think they're the indigo ink colours. They would give a really nice sort of deeper sort of whale colour as well. But obviously you can colour your whale any colour you want. I mean, a purple whale would be cool, a pink whale, maybe even a red whale. You know, you could do anything you like, really. So the first card that I'll show you, this one is going to be a photographic step-by-step on the Tonic blog. I just wanted to show you how you can mask your images, and I actually kept them to show you. So I was using these 2 whales here, and when I create a mask for a stamp I try to keep it if I can. So I've now got 3 little whale masks on the back of here because I needed 2 for the little whales. So I've got them there ready for whenever I want to make another card with this set. I've got the whales already cut out, and these are the full sticky post-it notes. I think it says it on the, oh, it just calls them super sticky ones, but I got them on Amazon ages ago, so you know, they're easy to find. They just, instead of only having this much sticky on them, they are actually fully covered down to here, so they pretty much, whatever used to be sticky on these ones is like the amount that's not sticky, so it really means you can use like the whole thing for loads of little masks. For example, if you were gonna mask out these tiny little things, you could stamp onto practically the whole post-it note and they would still be sticky. But I was also, I decided to stamp them onto a full sticky post-it note and cut them out. But if you like that white kind of look that you get with a die cut, you could have actually just die cut your post-it notes, or just some scrap paper and sprayed like a temporary spray adhesive on the back, or if you have masking paper, you could have just die cut them, and then they would have a slight little white halo around them. But if you like that look, or you're going for some kind of different sort of effect, that would be a quicker way, or a way that you didn't have to use any cutting for your card as well if you wanted to do that. So basically I wanted to show how you can sort of mask them off and add your background behind. So we've got the little fish stamp here, and this whole central section, where did I put it? I had it here just now and now I've lost it. I actually used that main fish die, like the extra die that you're getting in the set. I used it as a stencil, so I've now got all of those little white fish that I can use in a shaker card, but then I've actually just used this as a stencil in the centre of the card, and the little brushes from Tonic and Nuvo are absolutely perfect for getting in all these fine details, because you can really get the bristles right up to the edge of the little fish, so they actually look the same size as the die cut holes. Sometimes when you're, if you were using maybe one of these brushes to try and get through the holes, or if you were using a mini ink blending tool, the fish might come out smaller because you can't get the ink right into the design. But these little precision brushes are perfect for getting the ink completely into like a stencil design, whether it's a stencil that you've cut yourself or whether it's a real stencil that you've bought. These kind of brushes are fantastic for getting all of the details. So I did that whole like central kind of section with the circle, and because I knew I wanted to do that, I deliberately stamped the whales in a circular design. If I had spaced it out or like double checked before I stamped them, I probably could have done 2 large whales and 1 small whale, but I quite like the look of the 1 large and then the 2 small. You can't really use all 3 of them because this one's going in the opposite direction, and it might make the shape look a little bit weird. Like if you replaced that one with this whale, I think it would look a little bit odd, although maybe the downwards one I could have done that whale. So I guess you could experiment with the other whales. Because I stamped that one upside down, that would actually have worked. I could have used the 3rd whale. So if you're going to give this card a try, because you stamped him up the wrong way, because he's sort of coming around the top of the circle, that one would actually work and they would still be following each other in a circle. So yeah, you could actually use all 3 of the whales to create a card like this as well if you wanted to. And then I just used the sentiment whale hello there in the centre. And then for the rest of the card, I'd just done some light distress ink inking with the large brush on here, and then I've just done some overstamping with the solid coral and the little school of fish there as well. And then in the background, because on some of the other cards that I'll show you in a minute, I decided to paint on these kind of like wispy water flowing sort of lines across the card. I thought, well, why not manipulate this stamp into a more of a wiggly shape and just stamp that in the background. So that's all I've done on that one, and there's going to be a full step-by-step of how I made this card on the Tonic blog. Then I have got these 2 extra cards. So this is the one where I did Sometimes Life is Overwhelming, and I kept it really, really simple, just having the 3 coloured whales on there. Using that same technique of colouring the light grey over the top of the blue to give them that sort of blue-grey kind of feel. And then in the background I just used the school of fish with 1st, 2nd, 3rd generation stamping to give it a little bit of a difference as well. But just kept that one really, really simple. And that's 2 of this whale and 1 of this whale as well to create that design. But again, you could have used the smaller one. I just kind of wanted the card to be balanced with the same sort of width of a whale, but you could have used the smaller one on there as well. As one of them. And then this one I did as a shaker card. So this is the Sweet Peach Circle Confetti. I love this one. It's so bright and like neon in your face. And so I used that in the shaker behind the little fish apertures. And I just did a really fun inky background. And this is where I was using, this was actually a glitter marker. This was the Arctic Blast Nuvo glitter marker. I scribbled some on my mat, added some water, and then just painted it up and down on this card to give this kind of like flowing water sort of effect. And I also did it with the distress ink that I'd been using to blend on here. Then I've just stamped loads of the school of fish in different directions, because the fish actually, obviously they're only going in one direction, but they're slightly curved, so you can either have them sort of swooping downwards going this way, or you can have them going more of an arched direction going the opposite way, which is really lovely. And then you might have noticed this sentiment on here. If you've been around for a while, I think it was it was definitely January they launched, but I can't remember if it was 2018 or 2019. But there was a whole range of mermaid dies that Tonic did, and this was one of them, the Oceans of Love little sentiment die. I think it is still available on the website. If it is, I'll link it. I'm sure I saw it on there quite recently in the reduced section, so I'm not sure if it's definitely still on there. But then there was also some other ones in that collection. I don't think these are available anymore, unless you like look around on eBay and stuff, you might be able to find them. But this says Mermaid to be Friends, and then you've also got Make a Splash, and oh yeah, this one as well, Mermaid Kisses and Starfish Wishes, that went with that range of dies. So if you have any of those, or you can find them anywhere, I think this little Oceans of Love goes absolutely perfectly, because I just love the little fish and it works so well. You could have even put it directly over the top of the fish too, especially the white one would have shown up. But I think that just looks really lovely. So those were 2 extra cards that I made, so there's not a video or anything on them. And then the final 2 are the ones that are in my sped up video. So I just spent a bit more time kind of colouring all of the images in, and all of the images are coloured with the Nuvo alcohol pens as well. I really love using the corally tones, the lovely Irish clover greens and the orangey kind of tones together. And I also did a little bit of drawing in this one. Really, really simple, but literally just like drawing a horizon. I was going to use the stamp, but I thought it might have looked a little bit too wobbly for being a horizon line. So I did just draw a horizon in that one, and I drew a little sand level at the bottom for that one. Just really, really simple. And this one I drew the sand level at the bottom, but I also just drew a kind of rocky patch so that the little sunken ship wasn't just floating in the background. It kind of looks like it's further in the distance on a big like cliff or something that's underneath the water. I thought that looked quite good with it just being off in the distance like that. So for this one, I just created a small little scene, and I used the, I'm not sure what it's called actually, it might be called dot and dash layering squares. I'm not 100% sure if you can still get these, but any layering square dies will do, just to create a little frame. And then I just put my little scene behind it, so I've got the ship is actually on the water as if it is an actual floating ship, and then you can kind of see below the water surface the little fish. You've got some seaweed and some coral, and then I did the whale coming in from outside of the frame just to make it look a little bit different, and I also added one of the seaweed pieces outside of the frame as well. And again, I did that same kind of background that I had done on this one because I really liked how it turned out. So I decided to do it on this one using different generations of a grey ink pad to get that kind of a look. And then I did Have a Whaley Great Day for this one. And then the other one is slightly more involved, as quite a bit of colouring went into this, but I just wanted to show how you can stamp directly onto your card to create kind of like the background scene, and then you can also die cut out some of the images and build more of a foreground scene as well. I'm a little bit annoyed that this die doesn't cut out that big white area in the middle, but if you wanted to, you could use your scissors to cut that little bit out as well, or I could have actually placed the whale further down to kind of cover that white area on it, but I don't think it looks too bad. It's just that you can't see the rock behind it. I could just colour it in with the rock kind of colours, but anyway, I'm just being picky. So I've got one seahorse is sort of stamped in the background, another one is die cut out, so it's sort of in the foreground. Both whales are die cut out, and then I've got the extra piece of seaweed to sort of make it look like perspective, that the seaweed is in front of the whale but these ones are behind. Got a little bits of coral, got the anemone, starfish, this weird little tubey thing. Yeah, I just really like how that one turned out as well, and I just did the everything will be alright for that one. So I hope you enjoyed this up close video looking at Stamp Club number 8, which I think is called A Whaley Great Set. I just think it's a really fun, cute kind of set. And, you know, if you've got young people in your life, they will probably find whale kind of sentiments really funny. And I think there's loads that you can do with these. I mean, this one I didn't use a whale on, and all the other ones I did. But you could easily have done, you know, well, obviously not this one. This is actually based around the whales, really. But like this kind of card, you needn't have put the whale in there. I mean, you might have another stamp set from your stash that, you know, could be like a little creature in there, or you could even have the characters, I think it was Stamp Club number 2, they could be like having a beach day out and you could just see the boat in the horizon on the background as well. You know, you can combine different stamp clubs together to create different sort of scenes as well, which is really lovely. And again, you can use some of the seaweed as foliage with different flowers and stuff as well. And I think this is a great set for shakers too, because having like all the little elements to kind of build a sort of scene, I could have done this and put like a frame around it and made the whole thing a shaker and done what I was talking about with this whale, and you could have had the invisible thread top to bottom so that he could have wiggled within the shaker without sort of falling upside down and landing at the bottom. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this up close video. I hope it gave you some ideas of how you might want to use Stamp Club number 8. And I hope you also enjoyed that sneaky peek of the CRaFTi's magnetic die stand. I mean, this is the first time I've taken it out the packet and actually like put some dies on it, but I'm hoping I will be good and keep part of my desk tidy so I can keep it out and use it more often. Although, as I said before, it's resting on top of my tangerine at the moment, so you know, I might just keep it on top of there because the tangerine's quite high up, so it's sort of out of the way when it's up there. And it takes up less space on your desk then because it's sort of levitating. But yeah, I think that's going to be a really cool tool to have as well, so I thought I would show you that too. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again in the next video. Bye!